Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing my weekly wrap-up, which is for the last week of September, spilling slightly into October, mostly last week of September here, and talking about everything that I read physically, Kindle, and on audio. And so we'll jump in and talk about all of that. So this was actually a pretty good week. I made some progress on several things, so I feel like I'm finally got the momentum I've been needing to get for quite a while, because I've been perpetually behind for some time. But let's jump in and talk. So in my last wrap up, I mentioned that I was getting back to Earthsea because I hadn't completely forgotten about this, and so I had finished Tombs of Atuan, and then now I finished The Farthest Shore, which is book 3. I should at least show you the cover here. But so now, if you can see the ribbon, that's how far book 3 gets in. So there's still a lot left in this book, but this is the entire thing, so that makes sense. But I finished The Farthest Shore, and it was pretty good. I definitely feel like I liked Tombs of Atuan more. Farthest Shore felt a little more like the first book, although it also has a different main POV character. So each of the first 3 have so far, which has been interesting, because, like I said, I'd only ever read the first one, and I kind of assumed that that was going to be our main character. And we always see the main character in the first one kind of involved in what's going on, but we're also looking at other characters, so it's been pretty interesting. I have enjoyed my time. It's definitely like nothing that's like totally blown me away, but so far I think book 2 was my favorite. It just was so different, not what I expected, and I really liked what it explored. But book 3 was really interesting, and I know some of the later books are supposed to show us some of the main characters specifically later and have them interact again, and so I'm still really excited to continue with these. Technically the buddy read was just for the first 3, but I'll probably just kind of keep reading them here and there, because they are quite short, and so it was really easy to get through, which was definitely pretty nice. And then the read I am currently on for physical is Ships of Marrier by Janny Wirtz, and this is actually book 2 and 3 of Wars of Light and Shadow, because this is the version that's all combined. This is a behemoth of a book. You can see here I'm not super far. I think about 16% is what Goodreads told me when I last updated it. So I have quite a lot to go. I will probably take a break between part 1 and 2, since it's technically 2 books, because I've just been taking my time with these. I've been having a great time, but it is they're kind of the slower, quieter books with just absolutely beautiful writing. This has to be the most beautiful prose I've ever seen, which may be a little too flowery for some, but just reading through it, it's just wonderful. And it's too bad that there's not audio of this, because I love reading it physically, but it's just a really good narrator reading it out loud, I feel like would also be really good for the people who like audio, and for those who don't like reading that kind of prose, that also might help. But it's, having a really great time with this one. Just, it's continuing on a lot of things from the first book, but already as the first book was kind of establishing a lot of things, and this is, while still kind of going at the pace I expect, it's really starting to move forward with a lot of things. There's a bit of a time gap between books 1 and 2, and just a time going on. I will most likely do a review with a brief non-spoiler section and like a heavy spoiler section for that book when I finish it, especially since it's 2 books. So I'm not going to talk too much more of that here. But yeah, suffice to say, been having quite a great time. And then on the old Kindle, so I was reading, I hadn't actually started a book on my Kindle because I was still working on finishing up the Space Fic, or maybe I should just give in and call it Space Face, because that still makes me laugh, but the self-pub sci-fi contest there, and so I'll get to those in a moment. But I was getting ready to start a different book, but then I was talked into by Andrew and some others in Discord into reading Thrice, which is by Andrew D. Meredith, because it's supposed to be good, and it's actually quite short. So since last night, I'm actually almost halfway through. I think 43% is what it was at on the Kindle. So I'm actually like almost halfway done through it already. It reads very quick. It is like under 300 pages as a physical read. So it has been kind of nice, just because I've been taking my time on a much longer read. So having something that I can just kind of burn through really quick has been nice. And the story is really interesting so far as well. It feels very much like it is a kind of novella short story style, where we're just going through the story and we're getting bits of world building here and there kind of built in as we go, which I think it's hard to do well, but that is, for me, what makes a novella or shorter story good, and that's when it's done really well. Instead of just trying to establish everything with an info dump at the beginning and go from there, if you can build it in like that and slowly build the world, it works really well. So right now, it's just looking at this, I think it's written really, really well, and I am quite interested. I'll probably do a full review for this one as well also, but we're following a man who seems to have rage issues that have gotten into a lot of trouble as he's trying to protect a small boy who people are after for kind of mysterious reasons. There's this interesting kind of the magic system that's been set up with just here and there kind of as with the touches and the world in general. There's a lot here. So I'm really enjoying this so far. But yeah, I will talk more once I actually do get it finished. And then on audio, since I finally finished all of the Dungeon Crawler Carl, I have been continuing Crown of Swords. And I am just about done here. So I just have this little bit left here. I should finish this probably tomorrow or if not the next day. And then I may just go straight into Path of Daggers. I'm not sure yet, but I might just jump in there since I'm a little late on this book. But I honestly got through a lot of audio this month. That was the one place I had been consistently getting a lot in because I was still able to do audio even when I had less physical reading time. But still having a lot of fun with Crown of Swords. And so, as always, I'll do a video about Crown of Swords 2 once I do get that finished as well. So then I have officially, I said I was going to talk about Sps Fc. I have officially actually finished going through and reading all, I think, 28 of the books that our team are allotted. We're still at the stage, I mentioned a couple times, but the stage where we're sampling, reading the first 10 to 20% of each book, and then figuring out which ones we want to move forward with. And then we'll be reading the full books for the ones that move forward with our group and kind of continuing on with judging from there. And I've officially finished, which is great. And as always, I usually like to talk about the standouts from what I read in the last week. And this time it was Echoes of Another Earth by J. Daniel Layfield. And this was kind of an interesting story just because what's kind of was being set up. So we have a character that essentially is, they're like them, and things keep happening where some world-ending catastrophe will happen, and then they all of a sudden wake up in the body of themselves from like a parallel universe or like a parallel reality. And that's kind of the first part that's set up. And then we have a second kind of plot going, which involves some advanced group of people who are researching parallel realities and kind of like looking for disturbances and everything. And so those are kind of the two parts that we have. And I was pretty interested with it. So the second POV, some of the talk of parallel dimensions was a little bit hard to follow at points, but granted, when you're just doing the sampling, you're really just looking to see if it hooks you, and for me, it did. This is definitely one I will be interested to continue. I am really excited to see what the finalists are. For those that I was pulled into enough, I'll be continuing no matter what, but I would imagine... granted, there's going to be things we have different taste on, but I imagine hopefully that most of the ones I liked will make it through, so we'll definitely see. I'll make sure to talk about that once we get further with that, but that's kind of where we are for that part. So, I will mention, actually, since I don't really do TBR videos anymore, since it's mostly MBR, I actually know a little bit about what I'm going to be reading very specifically coming up, because I have some things that are a little bit more planned. Now, I mentioned already Curse of Chalian is going to be coming up here really soon. I found out, actually, it was included for free on Prime Reading for Kindle, so sometimes I'll do like a physical book during the day and a Kindle at night in bed, and so I'll probably do both once I read this, just to help me get through it quicker. As well, so going to be doing that physical, and then probably between books 1 and 2, or part 1 and 2 of Ships of Merrier, I will be moving on to one of my review copies that I've been meaning to get to, and that I was planning for in October, which is the Voidwalker collection by Derek Bailey. So this is, and this is a collection of, I think there were 9, I could be wrong, let's actually look. 8, I was so close. This is 8 kind of like novellas in one, and so I'll be getting through this. It's kind of long, but also since it's 8 in one, I might also just kind of take my time and read one at a time and go through like that too, just because it's been nice kind of breaking it up with some shorter things. But that's going to be something I'm going to start working on as well. So yeah, I don't know if I'll do it all at once or do it a little bit slower, but planning on that also as well. I already mentioned for audio, I'll probably just go straight into Path of Daggers, but I also recently on the Audible sale got the rest of the Journai books for audio that I don't have yet because I've just loved doing audio for those. And I also grabbed the rest of the Bobiverse books too, because I did the first one of that a while back as well. So I have some options for some shorter audio as well. And if I continue with the amount of audio I've been getting done, I should actually be able to fit in a few different books. So we'll kind of see where that goes as well. But so those are some things I'll specifically be reading there. And on Kindle as well, and this is actually what I was going to start until I got talked into Thrice. And this is twice as long, so I'm like, I could fit in Thrice. But the 7th Cadence by Jim Wilborn, this has been on my list for quite a while. And funnily enough, not long ago, Jim reached out to me asking if I wanted a copy. I'm like, I've had a copy of this book on my Kindle for a really good long while. I got it, I don't remember specifically when, but I've had it for quite a while. I've been meaning to get to it, and I've been like, you know what, since you specifically asked, so I'm going to make sure that I prioritize and get to it. So that'll be the next thing that I'm reading on the Kindle as my dedicated Kindle read as well. So as you've seen, I have a few different things, physical Kindle, that'll be kind of mixing around. So for the next weekly update, it'll probably be like I made a bunch of progress and things. I don't know if anything will be actually finished because I have several kind of things going on. But since I finished going through the first part of the Sps Fc challenge, until we're ready to actually start reading the full books, I'll have a little more time because I've been spending a lot of time with that. Because going through 28 books, even when you're only doing 10 to 20%, that still takes a lot of time. So I was usually able to get through a week or so, and it did take me pretty much the whole month to get through all of them. And so I'm done with that, though. That'll give me some extra time. Of course, then I'll be reading those and mentioning those as we read the full ones once we have our top picks. But that is really it for this week. So, of course, let me know what you read this week, and let me know your thoughts on any of the books that I talked about here as well. Always love to hear that. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Do It Discord. If you want to chat books, whether any of these books, other books, any books, really anything at all, it is a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.